Yeah, we are recording. So, Eugene, welcome to the show. Thank you for spending your afternoon and your busy time for doing this podcast. So, have our next guest. His name is Eugene. He's the co-founder and the tech lead of Academy of Relationship and Sex. Okay, so Eugene, being this industry, and I will assume you are a millennial, right? You're a millennial with very familiar with the smartphones, or maybe a Gen Z. Okay, lah,
No,
but I think you're
no,
a millennial.
I'm not a Gen Z. I identify myself as a millennial.
A millennial. Okay, I'm millennial also can.
Yeah.
This will be a question you'll be quite well versed in. If you could use an emoji to give advice on relationship and sex, what emoji would you use?
If I had to give an emoji on advice on relationship and sex, you know the emoji where the eyes is a two dash one,
Two dash one.
and
Wow, I
then
have to
the
check out
mouth is also a dash one.
the dash. Oh, the this is it? Oh,
Yeah.
why that one? That one is
That-
the xian look, no man.
it's if you look at my face, it's like this.
Okay. So how would
Uh,
that help out with relationship and sex?
um, I mean, because you mentioned like tips and advice, right?
Mm,
I think what comes to my mind is that I would first assume that you're talking about tips and advice between two people in a relationship.
mm-hmm.
I think that's the assumption I have, right?
Okay.
Then I would say why I give that face is because when it comes to two-person being in a relationship and or whatsoever, right, I feel that
Mm-hmm.
it is it is most importantly for them to like know their partner, know themselves, know the common language that they are speaking to one another. When I mean language, I don't mean like English, right? I mean like when it comes to touch, how would your partner like to be touched? How would you like to be touched?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the moments of intimacy, like do you know the cues your partner are like showing you, or and are you also showing the cues of partner that you want to be intimate? So to me, it's like understanding your partner should also be able to understand you and be able to
Okay.
establish that common language between both of you. So when people ask me about tips and advice, I mean, in this case, I would say there will be no tips and advice that I could give because it's really very personalized between you and your partner. But if you have to zoom out a bit, yeah, there are some tips and advice that means really pay attention to your partner, pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to yourself, understand what you're looking for in a relationship, understand what your partner is looking for in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately that was what that brought you together in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's tip number one, right? Understanding what you want, understanding what your partner wants.
Mm-hmm.
Then same goes for the sex part now. Okay, understand what your partner like, when it comes to the sex part of things, and understanding what you like and how you both communicate that. Then the other thing is, first to be able to understand. Then after that is being able to understand the differences that both of you might have.
Mm-hmm.
Coming together with the common things that you guys have is not that tough. I mean, I
Okay.
know what you like, you know what I like, right? Then we come together, right? Because that was what brought us together in the first place. Then over
Mm.
time, the differences will begin to show up.
Mm.
Yeah, then it's
Okay.
about understanding your differences, his or her differences, and know what is the differences in the relationship, and then to be aware of them and to handle them when it causes issue along the way, and to actively work on them, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be how I see it. Like, generally speaking, the same goes for the sex part of things, the differences that you guys have, and then be aware of them and you have to work through them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be how say it generally.
Mm. It sounds very fundamental, right? Like a bit
Mm.
of duh. Like everyone will ask think, okay, but then in terms of practice wise, it's a lot more overlooked than how people actually do in terms of their relationships. So I guess it all boils down to the basics of how would you like to be treated and understanding each other's needs and wants for us. So
Mm.
yeah, but I'm still trying to understand though the emoji that this it looks like very sian. Like okay,
No lah,
yeah.
it's not sian lah. I mean, it is like to me, it's not a sian face. I'm having a lot of fun and fulfillment being in this work that I do.
Uh-huh.
Uh, to me, it's just like what kind of tip you want? I have no tip for you. I'm here to work with you
Ah.
through your relationship, but I don't have tip for you if you get what I mean. Yeah.
Is it because maybe people want very quick fix or very easy solution they give,
Yeah.
then you give there's that look. That's why that
Yeah.
look.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, relationship and sex is something that it's not. I wouldn't say, okay. It's something that is not as simple as ABC. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't crystallize the top five tips to to have a good relationship and sex between you and your partner. I mean, if that works, like if I'm able to get a book on the top five tips to make relationship works, then everybody
Mm.
will have great relationships already. I
Yeah.
mean, right? Then nobody will have relationship issues already. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
such a complicated thing that, I mean, complicated. Okay, I don't want to say it's complicated. It's complicated because we are ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's complicated because we see things to, through the lens of, I mean, nowadays, information just comes so fast. When we look at social media, for example, we just want to browse through them, right? So our minds are very
Mm-hmm.
fixated on quick fixes, like
Yep.
as all right. So I mean, so quick fixes can only bring you so far, but at the end of the
Mm.
day, you still have to,
To work
not
your way towards
you
it.
have to work your way. I would say, if there's quick fixes, then there's also slow fixes or long fixes. Yeah, I don't know
Mm.
what how to put it. Right? So if there's fixes, then there's also long or slow fixes, which you would still need to deal with. You cannot run away from that.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of fixes, let's talk about a little bit of your motivation and of what you studied in the past.
Mm, 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 mm,
When you were in university, you were fixing something else,
mm. Mm.
which is in regards to a bit of engineering, industrial and system engineering.
Yes.
So I found that quite interesting. So last time you used to study that.
Mm.
So what was the motivation for you to shift the industry from engineering to
Through what I'm doing,
relationship and sex? Yep.
I see. So spent 4.5 years in university on an engineering degree.
Mm-hmm.
I think what changed my path, or what how I embarked on a new path, was after my graduation. I actually went on to do coaching related programs. That means
Mm-hmm.
more of personal development, coaching. Um,
Your own coaching, or is it how
and
to coach people?
I started off as the client. Yeah, so I'm
Ah,
being
okay.
coached, right? I mean,
Mm,
coaching is one part of it. Broadly speaking, it's more personal development work where I begin to understand a lot more about myself. I mean,
mm-hmm.
um, and I began to see that there are many blind spots within me, that has like shaped me along the way. If to put it more broadly, so there were a lot of blind spots, and therefore these blind spots have created like invisible barriers for me in my
You
own
mean
life, right? In my own
in
life.
terms of your relationship, there's
Uh,
friction,
uh,
is it?
no, I wouldn't say relationship. I mean, relationship is one part of it, definitely.
Mm,
But generally, how I see life and how I experience life, I saw that there were a lot of blind spots within myself, and I was the one who actually just trapped myself and blinded myself, and therefore I could only see life in a certain way. Just to put it in
okay.
a more simple sense. So
Mm,
when I graduated, when I embarked on all these experiences and programs, I began to saw there's so much more about myself that I don't even know.
mm,
Um, and I saw how, when I did not know so much about myself, when can you imagine, like, when two people, they do not know much about themselves and then they come into a relationship,
oh,
they they do not know a lot about relationship.
okay.
I mean, the first thing,
Mm-hmm.
because you do not know a lot about yourself. It comes from that fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I began to be very interested in how me as a person is.
Okay.
And because of that, I began to be interested in how me interact with someone else, whether is it relationship, whether is it friendship, whether is it working in the group. It,
Mm,
and then relationship is a component of it, right? So when I began to explore that on my own as well, I also saw how my relationship was able to the experiences in my relationship was was different than before when I began to
Mm.
understand myself a lot more. So that's the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, my partner was also, going through a similar like coaching and related programs. So
Mm-hmm.
we begin to see how when we actually know about ourselves, the relationship dynamic actually was very interesting compared to my earlier relationships where I was quite kind of like ignorant. Yeah, so
Okay.
that got me very curious and wanting to be able to play my part to help people create meaningful and fulfilling relationships. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Okay.
yeah, so during COVID period, my co-founder back then, I mean, she was my coach some years back, right? So
Mm.
uh, we crossed path, and then we decided to work on this together. And
Project.
yeah, this project together, it was more like a project back then. And then we
Mm.
began to see more and more people inquiring about it.
Mm.
And a couple of like 12 months or 18 months later, we began to formalize it to incorporate it as a company. So that was
Mm.
how it all began, and that was how my intention and my trajectory changed ever since I graduated.
I see. It sounded like when you were doing this coaching, it was not intentional that you found this as your new, how you put this, calling or
Uh,
discovery.
yeah. It was not intentional. I didn't know I would embark on this.
Mm.
But what resonated with me was being able to work with somebody, being able to, whether it's directly or indirectly, and to be able
Mm.
to create meaningful impacts.
I
Yeah,
see.
and relationship happens to be one of the way that I can be involved in.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Curious about this coaching thing.
Mm.
Did Was there like a cert for it, or
Um,
it's just a program you go through with it? Then okay.
it's more of a program. It is more about uncovering my own self. So there's no cert. There's no cert to say that, oh, I take part in this.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean there isn't, right? I mean there are people who actually inquire about it. That's interesting.
Mm.
But there isn't. But there are certs when I decided to enroll in coaching programs to become a coach myself. Yeah,
Okay.
so there are certificates for that. Yeah, because those skill sets are recognized internationally by the International Coach Federation. So there are
Mm.
certs. Yeah,
What,
but me
what,
as yeah, but me as a client in the coaching programs or the
mm,
personal development programs, there's no cert. Yeah.
what coach? What can you do with that coach apart from the relationship aspect of helping others?
Oh,
I mean, if you
it
know
yeah
what you can do,
yeah. I mean, it
mm,
branched out to a lot of fields. I mean,
like,
I just going to say a few examples, right? It's
mm-mm,
not comprehensive.
yep,
So, first of all, you can, if with a skill set, you can do executive coaching. So you can work with
mm-hmm,
people in the field of executive coaching or career coaching.
mm-hmm,
Um, I mean, relationship coaching is one of it. Life coaching is
mm,
another example, right? Life coaching, where
okay,
people want to find out their purpose and direction in life. That's where life coaching is about. Yeah, so coaching can apply to many fields, depending on how you apply it. So
mm,
what I just shared are just examples of it.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay,
Mm,
interesting. I didn't know there was. I know there was career coaching because I was a bit interested in it,
mm.
but I didn't know how. So it can be. It's a general kind of coaching, but you can branch it out to different industries lah, of
Um,
practices or
it,
something like that.
in a way, it is because coaching can be applied in many its application is across a wide range of industries, right? A wide
Mm,
range of life aspects, and it is not bounded by that you can only apply it here. No, you can apply it everywhere, right? And the thing is, you do not need to have. So coaching is not like mentoring, right? Mentoring is like you are showing someone a path ahead. Right? You are
mm-hmm,
guiding them, you are pointing them, you are giving them tips and advice on how they can maneuver.
mm-hmm,
Coaching is not is totally not like that. Coaching it's more empowering and enabling, meaning through a series of questioning in a conversation,
mm-hmm.
they they begin to see their own blind spot. They begin to see how
Mm,
they play a part in the current issue that they are facing, So the
Okay.
thing is, yeah, when you're able to see that, right, then you're able to empower them to move forward in the situation they are facing.
I
So
see.
I mean that's generally in coaching, lah, right?
Mm,
Yeah. So we take elements of that in the work that we do, and my co-founder, Angela, she's the one working more with the clients. Not more. I mean, she is the only one working with the clients for now.
mm,
So in her sessions with them, she does employ elements and concepts and frameworks from coaching to work with them through their struggles and
mm,
difficult situations.
mm. I see. Okay. Wow. So you mentioned you were a client. Was the Angela, the co-founder, your your coach, is it? Or is it
Uh,
another?
yes. So she was in that community much earlier than I do, right?
Mm,
So by the time I enter or I expose myself to the community, she was already like having she's more senior than me, right? And
mm-hmm,
then she also took up coaching skill sets and whatnot. So back then when I was new, um, when in one of the programs, she actually coached me. Yeah,
mm.
so that was how I got to know her lah. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Now client become colleague.
Yeah,
Ah.
colleagues,
Co
co-founders and
co-founder.
whatnot. Yeah, so that's quite interesting how the journey is.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Convert your clients to your customer to your colleagues.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So when you were a first time client, so or maybe let's talk about other people who are maybe interested in getting this service as a as a client to know more about their dynamics, their relationship dynamics and sex. What are the first few questions that will be asked, generally speaking, to everyone, maybe including yourself also, since you've been in through this program?
Um, just okay. Just
Hmm.
want to just give more clarity about it. So the coaching program that I took back then is
Oh, it's
is sep
coaching. It's not the
is separate from the current company that I'm in. Yeah, it's not
okay.
the same. Yeah, it's not the same. So back then I was a client
Hmm.
a- in a coaching school,
Coaching.
a
Okay.
personal development school. It's called
Hmm.
Leave Your Mark, by the way. I mean, you can search
Hmm.
it out. It's called Leave Your Mark. So I was there for a couple of years, training
Hmm.
myself up. I also took their leadership programs back then.
Okay.
So that was I spent a good amount of years there. Then during COVID, we started this company called ARAS. Yeah,
Okay, it's
yeah.
different.
So ARAS is focused more on the intimacy, the relationship aspect of things between a couple or
Mm,
individual lah. Yeah, so that is the company that I'm in right now.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's totally different. So
Okay.
the one that I wanted to clarify was the more of the relationship one. So yours is totally different. It's more of the personal development instead of the
Yeah,
relationship or the
yeah,
sex
I was speaking
aspect.
about my history back then, yeah, and
Mm.
how where I am right now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about more of the specific areas that you're working in, or your
Yeah.
industry is working in. So, clients who are new to this relationship sessions and counseling. So, yeah, what are the questions that will be asked towards them when they're
When they
curious
can
about
come
this?
to us.
Mm,
Um, so one of the most important question that we normally check with our client, right, is what would you like to get out in this session with us? Like, what
mm,
kind of outcome do they envision? Like, are they looking towards to recreate intimacy in their relationship, for example? Are
mm,
they looking to rekindle the passion? Are they looking to heal between they and their partner because of a bad experience that they have in a relationship? Like, I mean, bad experience can refer to many things, right?
mm-hmm,
It can be referred to like, loss of passion in relationship. It can sometimes, the other partner got high sex drive or low sex drive, and then that create tension between both of them.
okay.
It could be that one partner cheated, for example. It could be that there's no sex in the relationship.
Mm,
So one of the most important thing is that we ask them what would they like to get out in this session with us, because
mm,
with that, then we know what they want, and we also know get a sense of the commitment level, and
Mm.
then we are able to work with them to the outcome that they want. And some of them want to patch back. Some of them they would like to have an amicable breakup or divorce.
Oh.
Let's put it properly. So, yeah. So depending on what they want and their and the objective that they have,
Mm.
and that's how we work with them through it. So that's one of the most important questions that we will ask.
I see. Oh,
Yeah.
the break off part,
Mm.
that was quite interesting. So
Mm-hmm,
there
mm-hmm.
are couples who come in to try and find ways that they can break off in a diplomatic way. Is it? How does it
Um,
work?
I mean, to put it simply, yes, there are.
Mm.
So, and why is it? Why do I mean? What do I mean by like amicable or like in your case you mentioned diplomatic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
They have children, that's why? Is it because
true
of
and
that?
one of it, but it's more like when you're in relationship with somebody, and then when the breakup happens or the divorce happens, that this kind of episode can be quite it is painful.
Okay.
Yeah, to put it simply, it's painful. It can be traumatic, if you get what I mean. It can be
Mm.
traumatic because it is so impactful to the individuals that it can shape how they perceive their future relationship.
Mm.
That it can make them, it blinds them moving forward. That means they might have certain like, I don't want this kind of people, I don't want that kind of people, or like, I'm afraid of this, or I'm afraid to commit to another relationship, right? So
Okay.
um so one way, I mean, a good and healthy way that everybody should do is when it comes to breaking off and or divorce is that to have a proper closure to things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, proper closure meaning it doesn't mean it has to be all smiles, and not like haha, laughing with you as I
Mm.
end the relationship. Right? It's more like, so that you you know that you ended the relationship, and you know that you feel good about what happened, how it has shaped you and how has it allowed you to grow as a human being, and you're ready for what is next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead
Okay.
of feeling so traumatic, and then you would see like relationship as like, oh no, I'm not going to be in another relationship anymore, because it's, you people are just so bad, I'm not going to be in a relationship because you know I feel so like cheated or what, for example. So it's not having that kind of mentality as you end a relationship, but so
Mm.
it's more like healing. It's more empowering the person and the individual as they break off from the relationship. Yeah, I mean, amicable is one way also to end things properly, so that you know you can still talk after that and things like this. Yes.
I see. Usually, when I think of these relationships, I mean, for me, I think the best way is just cut it off, because
Mm,
so you can move on,
mm,
because yeah,
mm,
you just don't want to do it. So yeah, I guess in a way you say waste of time. You talk
mm,
here, talk here. It's still gonna be the same thing, right? So yeah, it's gonna hurt, but I think it's the best way. But I think
mm,
I guess you could,
mm,
but yeah.
mm.
I think
Yeah.
if couples want that, I think it's a good way to end off things.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, you mentioned a good, interesting point, right? I mean, cutting it off and whatnot, and it also depends how. I mean, I know that people, I know of people who have done that, right? Cutting it off and things like this.
mm,
Um, I think at the end of the day, it depends on how deeply invested you were in the relationship. So I mean, if it was a short one, it was exploratory stage, and you know that it, it you haven't invested much, right? And then you decide to cut off, then maybe cutting off could be the easier way, right? Because you just want to move on.
mm,
But when people who have invested a good number of years in the relationship, they practically know each other inside out, and cutting off, it's not as simple as that. There are a lot
okay.
of residual things that lingers around even after you cut off.
Mm,
Yeah. They say that time heals, right? When you cut off, but the thing is, time doesn't heal. It just makes you feel less painful.
mm,
Yeah, it makes you
okay.
feel less painful over time, but you would still carry that within you, if you know what I'm saying. You
Mm-hmm,
the all the all the moments that you had with your previous relationship, it will shape you, and it would it would make you perceive your future relationship in a different lens. And
Okay.
that is the part that we want to work with people, because when they perceive their relationship or future relationship in the different lens, it actually clouds their vision.
Mm.
And then they will have certain expectation or projection of how they want their future relationship to be because of the past experience that they have. Yeah,
Mm.
so they're actually carrying forward things into their next relationship. You
I
understand what I
see.
mean? Yeah, and then
Okay.
can you imagine if people just carry things from their previous relationship into their future relationship?
Baggage.
I mean, yeah, baggage, right? Like I bring
Yeah.
my baggage here, you bring your baggage here, and then we are in a relationship, and then you have your baggage, I have my baggage. It's it's kind of like if you know how it's like, I don't know how to put it, but it doesn't allow the relationship between you and me to really blossom in a way that it is new or what. It's not because I carry all my baggage, you carry all your baggage, and then I demand you to be a certain way because my past baggage tells me that if you don't do this like this, then you are like this. It's all this
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. But then the thing is it true? If you do this like this, are you like this? No, you are not. You are you, right? But then my
Mm-hmm.
previous relationship, the person did this, therefore the person is like this. But this this framework doesn't apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
You get it? But then because I carry my baggage, I see that in you, which is not really fair or accurate.
Mm.
Yeah. So can you imagine all the baggages we have and how I expect you to be and how you expect me to be and how unhealthy that relationship can be?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's from that train of thought. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. That's a good way to see it.
Mm,
To transition and prepare for the next
mm,
relationship.
mm,
Okay. Okay, let's talk about the sessions that the clients would have.
mm,
So I will imagine for the couples, usually it will be sometimes a bit awkward or tense or very unwilling to talk about these types of sensitive topics,
mm.
especially during the first few sessions. So what do you employ in terms of the methods in order to get them to open up?
This is a damn good question, right? One of the main things, or the important thing that we we have, or we prioritize when it comes to having a session with these couples, is safety, safe space.
Mm-hmm.
It's super important, right? How we treat them, the safety of the space, to make sure that whatever they say is private and confidential, to and them seeing us as being able to create that safe space for them from the start all
Okay.
the way till the end is super important. So from the start, meaning like, in the email or in the inquiries that they have with us, all the way till when the session happened, and all the way till, even if they ended a session, and how do we ensure that their information, or not information, we know we don't keep track of the information, but how do we ensure that things are being handled properly? That safety
Mm,
from start to the end of the process is something that we really prioritize.
mm,
And that's one of it, because how people perceive unconsciously, they are looking for out for all this kind of thing. And
mm,
then the other one is really important, which is the skill set and the ability of the coach herself. I mean, in this case, it's Angela, right?
mm,
So to be able to create a safe space between she and the clients is is an important thing, so that they are able to really just deep dive into their issues and being able to express it out quick, and not quick, but I would say in a way that they feel they are ready to share. Yeah.
mm.
If you ask me if there's any tips or tricks or what do we employ, I won't say there's any tips or trick. It's really
Mm.
being able to empathize with them and being able to know that safety is important and being able to know how to create a safe space. This is something that unfortunately is not really trainable.
Okay.
I mean it's trainable. Just that it takes time to train.
Okay.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I say unfortunately because when it comes to the matters of emotion and being able to talk about your vulnerability, most people are not equipped or trained to properly handle this kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, how do I put it?
Your
I mean,
pushbacks to it whenever they
uh,
express.
I wouldn't mean like pushback. I mean like we are not trained from our
Mm.
education system. We are never trained in all this kind of thing. We are trained in the area of math, of science, or art or history and things like this, right? But
Mhm.
we never really there was really no training when it comes to know how to deal with another human being.
Mhm.
Yeah, and and a lot of people instinctively they might not know, right? So
Mm.
it takes a couple of years of being able to work with people to really have that acumen,
Mhm.
to create a safety between you and the clients.
Mhm.
And that's something that we really prioritize when it comes to working with them, so that they're able to share their their internal struggles and things like this to the coach. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So the assurance of safe spaces and the importance of it, it's often highlighted or emphasized so that the clients feel safe and safe enough to speak their mind truthfully,
Mm-hmm,
so they can be helped with the sessions. Okay.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. I would think, yeah, maybe because we study too much. We don't have the social capacity to handle matters of emotions. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just blurping out. I could be wrong. I could be due to different reasons. So, uh, yeah, I think it's a very subtle skill, lah. Like you can't it can't really pinpoint down like what makes a person easy to open up to. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
then and I've heard of this phrase called it's not about what you say, it's about what you make the other person feel. So even if you're objectively correct, if the person that say the facts, if it's objectively really right, like you need to hear this, but how the person made you feel,
mm-hmm.
you're just not willing to open up, or even though he's right. So
Mm.
I think that's a very good skill to have, but a very difficult one to learn because it's like it's not tangible, I guess. It's like what you can see in
Uh,
a book, the kind. Or maybe you can.
y- it's interesting because um let me see so when it comes to safety, right, there are like many components to that,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
like like for example, if we were to, like, okay, let's break it down a little bit lah, so that it's a bit easier to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So if a person, let's talk about physical safety first, right? That is
Yep.
easier to understand. So for a person who has, how do I put it? Who has I don't want to say issues, but I can't find a better word. But for a person who tend to have more fear when it comes to the physicality of things, like
Mm,
touch, or what, right? Then
mm,
you'll be able to get the cue line, and you have to let the person feel safe physically, if you understand what I mean. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Then there are people who are more fearful emotionally. Then the thing is, you have to enable them to feel that they are safe emotionally in that space.
Mm,
Yeah. Then there are people who has fear when it comes to the intellectual part of things. So when I mean intellectual, I mean uh like sometimes they have questions a lot over how things are done. Like no,
mm-hmm.
I mean most people in Singapore are, because we are, the education system only focus on our intellectual minds, like science and all the science and math and logic and etc etc, right? So
Mm,
generally people have a lot of questions when it comes to things they do not understand. So then how
mm-hmm.
are you able to create a safe space such that it allows their intellectual mind to feel safe? Oh, I think I know how this is being done, so now I feel safe to have a session with you. That kind of thing.
Mm,
Yeah. So
okay.
to be able to understand what is the cause of their fear when it comes to safety, and to be able to handle that appropriately and progressively. Yeah.
Mm, I see. Okay. Wow. This type of coaching and sessions. It's like very sensitive. Like you have to
It-
walk really slowly. Like it's like a bunch of landmines in front. So see which one would explode when you walk. So
Yes, the landmine is so true. We all have our landmines with us.
yeah.
Yeah, and if I press your landmine or you press my landmine, I will get triggered, or I will feel unsafe, or I will react in a certain way. Yeah, you're right. So it's about maneuvering,
Mm,
knowing where the landmines are, and maneuver properly so that they feel safe.
mm,
Yeah.
I see. Eh, there's this yes no list that I found. Yeah. Okay. So for people who don't know, so this yes no list or yes no maybe list. Okay. How do I describe this? It's a bunch of sexual activities. Sexual activities. There's quite a lot. I would say maybe about more than 30, about 50 of them, and every one of them has been allocated options. So all of them they have yes, they have no, and maybe. So I presume is whether the client likes a specific sexual activity, and yeah, this activity is it provided to everyone? So let's say if the couples or the individual goes through the sessions, and then they have sex is one of the aspects of their relationship that they want to address. Does every one of them receive this yes, no, maybe list?
That's a it's so nice of you to be able to get that from the website. I mean this list fundamentally right is about consent and boundary.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding what your partner is looking for, and it's also for you to understand yourself better, what you would like to experience with your partner when it comes to uh, the sexual component of things.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole idea here is it's not mainly used in the session when we have with our client. It's mainly used between two two individuals in the relationship. Yeah, it's
Mm,
for them to be truthful with what they would like, and then to be able to share that with their partner. So the thing is, if I like and you like, then it's easy, right? I mean, we
mm-hmm.
know we like, right? So then we can plan for that, right? So that's nice. If I like and you don't like, so then that is the point that is something that we can communicate and we can discuss.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
so that I know that I don't cross your boundary and I know that you don't cross my boundary. Yeah, so
Mm,
it's like when I say, for example, I think one of it for what's one of the activities that you are seeing? We can just talk about it. Like you can pick one.
there's a lot. There are some that I'm not even familiar with. So let's go with some. Maybe you want to describe it as I give something that I'm not sure about. This vulva worship. So vulva worship. What's vulva? I have no idea what is that.
Vulva is an area, a part of the female anatomy that that
That is it the vagina area? I don't know. I'm just guessing.
no, no, it's not the vagina. It's not the
Oh, it's
vagina
not.
area. Yeah. Just I mean, I don't want
That's
to I don't want to say my own words that such that it might not be correct, but I just do a check, right? So it's the global is describe the structures that makes the female external genitalia. So if you
oh,
have to
it's
look
not.
at right, I mean, I think when we share screen it'll be easier. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wait, let me just find an image. Uh, okay. So the vulva is the whole area. Okay, can I share screen?
I'm not sure. It's okay lah. Maybe you describe it. It's not within the vagina. Then where is it? Because I Google it sounds like vagina,
It's
but I'm
it's,
not
it's, it's a
good with
whole
science.
area. It's a whole area where
Yeah,
the
higher.
clitoris is, and of course where the vagina opening is lah. So it's not
Okay.
specifically the vagina. It's the area around it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
So
an area around it.
why is it worship?
Um.
I don't know about all of this.
Okay. So that would, as in what I mean, the whole idea of that the worship part is I mean, it's down to it's down to the individual fantasies.
Okay, so if the girl or the guy likes it, what's
Yeah.
the different role? Maybe we describe a little bit. Okay, if the guy likes it, what happens?
So I totally have no idea like how you would like it. I mean that's the thing.
Okay.
But the idea here is if that's something that you enjoy and that you like your partner to be able um to
Do.
express it in a different way that your partner likes, or the partner
Mm,
wants you to be able to express in ways that your partner like, or you like, or she like, then
mm.
this thing has to be talked about lah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no like fixed thing to say, how that worship is. I mean, it depends on the fantasy between you and your partner, right? But that's
Okay.
interesting because why we have that there is because sometimes, I mean, we are like trying to push the boundary a little so that sometimes people, if they have different ideas of desires that they like to have from their partner, they can take that like yes, no, or maybe, right?
Okay.
And their whole card, I mean, it's not comprehensive, right? The option, but it's to give them a sense of how far they can take things to go in the bedroom. Or I mean,
Mm,
when it comes to um, being sexual active with one another.
mm,
And I mean, the thing, if you're not sure what like Vulva worship is, and I have no idea what Vulva worship is, right? Then both of us might take no, right?
mm-hmm.
Or if maybe you are curious, then you might take maybe, right? Right. So, but
Okay.
the whole idea here is to be able to have a discussion or conversation around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you say no, I say yes, then like to Wawa worship, right? Then the thing is, let's understand from one another, like why do you say no? Why do I say yes?
Mm,
And I also need to respect your no, and you also need to respect my yes, which also means that when both of us are keen and ready to explore, then we will explore it. Yeah. So
mm.
for now, if you say no, then okay, I have to respect that. Yeah, because if I were to push any further, then it will be pushing you out of your agreeable or your safety boundary, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, and so likewise, right? I mean, it's about boundary and consent. Is to be able to explicitly let your partner know what are you saying yes to, what are you saying no to, and what are you saying maybe to. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe is the maybe option is more interesting. So if I take maybe is because I might be curious, right? But then there are something that I'm not sure, therefore I take maybe. So
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, if we can have a discussion or a conversation around it, and if I'm able to see that, oh, these things that make me feel uncertain, right? If we can like handle them, then I might shift the maybe to a yes.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's that kind of thing that we like to encourage between two people. Yeah,
Okay.
unless you and your partner are really like opening, communicating, and you guys really know how each of you like to be touch, or how you like and the activities that your partner might like, then then maybe you do not really need this list.
I
Yeah.
see. Mm.
Mm.
Okay. Do they do you do it during the session, or is it you give them like a homework like that?
Oh, it depends. It depends between couple to couple. So
Mm.
if if the if the main issue, I wouldn't say main, sorry, not main. If the struggle between
The
the
couple.
couple, it's more towards communication, relating to aspect of intimacy,
Mm.
or sex, then that list can be used during the session, and then the conversation can be facilitated.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Mm.
of course, uh, if that is the struggle they are facing, and if that is something that they want to have an outcome in during the session, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so then that thing can be used as a tool to facilitate the conversation. So yeah, so that is how it can be used lah.
Mm.
Mm. But then
Okay.
we do normally go into solutioning too fast with them,
Mm.
because um I mean there are things that there are there are
The boundaries are.
there are not boundary is one of it.
Mm,
But there are things that were not handled in their relationship that make them where they are today, if you get what I mean. So
okay.
normally in a session, we will work with them through those things before
Mm.
the solutioning part.
So this
Yeah.
this yes no maybe is more of the solution
Yeah,
already
it
lah.
is. Yeah, it's more like solution, or it's more like a tool
Oh.
that they can take back home and then they can explore with their partner. But
Mm,
it's normally not the main thing that we have a conversation with them during the session. Yeah, we
mm,
normally work with them to resolve things that made their relationship this way.
okay,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I don't think you want to anyone wants to be receiving this paper within the first few session. Now, okay, you want to do what? Go you do this.
Yeah, yeah, and they might, and most of the time, if you talk about it in the first session, they are definitely not ready, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
there are
Not
things,
safe.
yeah, there are struggles in their relationship that they want to handle more importantly. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
All boils back to safety, and you don't want to dive in so quickly into the sexual act so quickly. Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, okay, so if when the couple does this,
Mm,
then let's say a specific sexual activity they don't want to do. One wants to do one is yes, one's a no.
mm,
So usually the consensus is they will not do the activity at all. So let's
uh,
say number one,
mm,
yes, one, no, two. So,
mm.
okay. So,
Yeah, the idea
mm,
is to respect what your partner has take, and
mm-hmm,
you can of course review this card again at a later period, like maybe 1 month later or 2 month later. Once you feel that your partner might be more inclined already, then you can try again.
okay. Oh, I'm thinking, I would think that in a relationship, if they are having sex, some of these topics of what they prefer in the bedroom, it's already mentioned, right? So maybe if there's a specific type of audience that requires this yes no maybe list, is there, or maybe
Um,
older adults that they lost their sex drive, or I don't know, I'm just throwing out things out,
mm, mm. Um, let's see.
unless it's for youngsters I
I wouldn't say it's for youngsters. I would say it's for people who are they are new to being
mm,
intimate with their partner. I mean, okay,
okay, okay, I
not
understand.
everybody have experienced, having a partner, right? Some people
mm,
get into an intimate relationship at more at the later years of their
mm,
age, right? So when it comes to vocabulary with regards to sex in the bedroom or sexual activities, then they might be limited. Yeah. So yeah,
okay.
so this card is meant for people who are keen to explore and exploratory stage, and they
mm,
are curious about things. And I mean, if you are very comfortable with your partner already, then you can still try this, because the thing here
Never know
is
lah.
you
You
never
never
know,
know.
right? Like you
Yeah.
never know what fantasies your partner might have, and
Mm-hmm.
because you guys have been always doing the same thing, then you might assume that your partner only like this number of sexual acts, right? But there
Mm-hmm.
are things that your partner might like, but maybe your partner just don't dare to voice out. So
Mm,
the whole idea about this thing is to create that space. Back again, it's back to safety and consent and boundary, right? Is to create a
mm,
space such that your partner can be truthful, and
mm-hmm.
you can be truthful as well. Like sometimes you just feel a bit paiseh, right? Like, oh, hey, I feel like doing this day, but I know my partner a bit shy. Then I also don't dare to ask, right? Then so this thing is the opportunity lah for you to be truthful, and then buay paiseh to just tick yes if you like it, and then have a conversation with your partner. The conversation is equally important as well. Yeah, so that I know, and we know that there's this thing that I might like, and then maybe we can explore it.
I wonder how the conversation will look like. So let's say if I take something that I don't know. What is this? then you have to show me a video like, oh, this is how it's done. Then it's like,
No, this one I don't have to worry. I know like when you just search on Google, right, I mean tons of things will come out lah. Yeah,
okay.
so on how to do it online, I bet there are a lot of resources.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of genres that
Yes.
people are creative about when it comes to this. So, okay. eh, so the yes no part, I'm a bit curious in terms of are there cases where it's like not solvable at all? So, like maybe it's the sexual dynamics. One really wants a lot, one wants very little, and
Mm-mm.
it's too polarizing that it doesn't work out.
Mm.
But yeah, that's one question. Or maybe, and another question is maybe there's two different personalities or conflicting needs, but they still want to really maintain a relationship, which I think some relationships are like that. So yeah, so the first question is, are there cases where it's not solvable because of the needs are too polarizing, too polar extremes? And then the other one is two needs are another couple needs are different, but they still want to maintain the relationship. Yeah.
Mm, tons of it actually. I mean, even without them coming to us, I mean, in many relationships, I mean,
Mm,
almost all, I mean, we can just close your eyes and you know that in all relationship there are differences.
mm,
Unless you really find that one person that you know, and there are no differences between you and the person, but that is the chances of it will be so low, like almost zero, right? Because
mm.
everybody they have their own idea about themselves, their
Needs,
lives, their frameworks, their values, how they see things, and therefore naturally when you come together there are differences. So,
mm-hmm,
that's one thing, right? So um so when we understand that, or not we, but when you, or you, I mean whoever that's listening, right, or including the client, when you understand that there are differences in the relationship, then the next thing is, are you clear about, do you know what the differences are, right? So like if you
mm-hmm,
mention like sex drive, like one has high sex drives and one have low sex drive, then that's clearly a difference, one of the differences really. And
mm-hmm,
the thing is, if the relationship is still important to you, then that difference, I mean those differences have to be managed.
mm,
Yeah, when I mean manage, I mean that your partner knows, you know, and then what are the ways that you can do to manage this difference in the sex drive? So I mean, I can't. So as for example, if you have high sex drive, I can't make
mm,
it low, right? If I
mm-hmm.
have low sex drive, you can't make it high, right? I mean,
Yep.
I mean, you can't force me to be high, right? So the thing is, then what kind of uh, agreement that we can have between you and me as a couple, such that we
Mm,
can manage this in this case the high and low sex drive thing. So for example, like, if you say high sex drive, so like, are you meaning like, five 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 times of sex a week, for example? Then if I
mm-hmm,
say low, I'm referring to like one, having sex one time a week, for example. So
mm-hmm,
what is my low? What is your high? Then can we like come to an agreement? For example, then can we do like three? Yeah. Then if that is what you agree and that is what I agree, then okay lor. Then that is the agreement we have. But at the end of the day, we still know that you have high sex drive and I have low sex drive, but we're able to come to an agreement to make our relationship work. So that's one thing, right? The other
mm,
thing is, if die cannot, you need five, for example.
yep.
I can only give one,
Mm,
correct? Then then the thing is, what agreement can we have? And because we cannot come to an agreement, right? And if the relationship is still important to us, then the thing is, do how can I support you to still have that extra for sex that you might need to be fulfilled? So then the thing is, um, so sometimes, right, like I mean, in the work that we do, right, sex is not just purely penetrative sex. Like
mm,
sometimes, emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, or even just cuddling together. And if that, makes you feel better, it's also considered part of what it means to be intimate, sexually intimate. Yeah.
mm,
So the thing is, if I can only do one have sex 1 times a week, then you need
Yep.
5, right? Then the thing is, how can we still make up for it? For example, we can have a romantic dinner together every week. We can cuddle in bed, together before we sleep. We can do things that still allows that part to be fulfilled, if you get what I mean. Yeah. So
Mm.
all these things has to be really communicated out, and to know that at the end of the day, you are still happy and I'm still happy, and we are able to work through this together. Yeah.
Mm.
The the more extreme, I won't say more extreme, but the more rare case is, then am I if I can only do one and you want 5,
Yep.
am I willing? Are we both willing to open up the relationship? Yeah,
Polyamory.
so that you can still have your 5 that you need, and I can only give you one, and
Mm.
you are at the end of the day, it fulfills you, it fulfills me,
Mm.
and if that can work out, then that can work out. Yeah.
Mm.
So but then again, when you open up a relationship, then there's a lot more thing you need to talk about,
Yeah.
like like a lot more. Okay, okay. First of all, there's a whole frame. I mean, not whole. I wouldn't say framework, but there's a whole understanding about how
What you
when
can
it,
or cannot do lah with the
yeah,
new partner.
when you open up the relationship, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that one, a lot more facilitated discussion would have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then but if you understand, but if you can see what I mean, right? At the end of the day, it is still an agreement between you and me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's whether is it we change it to 3 times sex a week? Is it whether we use other ways to fulfill your sexual desire, or is it we open up a relationship? But at the end of the day, the core idea here is the communication and the
Mm.
agreement that how we can handle these differences. That is the key thing here.
Mm.
Yeah. Can you imagine what happens if we don't handle the differences?
The frustration will just build up, lor, and then it will just explode one day.
Correct.
Yeah, cheating will probably happen one day.
Exactly right. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if if we don't talk about it, but it is in the background, I will still find way to manifest that.
That
Yeah,
need yeah.
yeah, it might be like micro cheating which eventually lead to cheating,
Mm.
um, or you might be frustrated and therefore you're angry with me and things like this, and all these things
Mm-mm.
builds up, right?
Mm.
And it would channel itself into various ways.
Mm-mm. Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's the nature of things.
Mm.
Yeah.
I see. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking there are some people who are, yeah, asexual, or they don't really want sex at all.
Mm.
So yeah, how do you deal with that? If one is really, really no sex at all, maybe at most once a year kind of
Mm.
thing, like, or no sex.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
how does that work?
Mm.
Also the same open
Mm.
relationship, or that's one of
Not.
the option?
I mean, if both parties do not want to open the relationship, then
Yeah.
it will not be open, lah, right? I mean, so
Mm-mm.
that's the first thing. Then the thing is how to manage your difference. It always falls back to what's the agreement and the consensus that I can have with you, right?
Mm.
Um, then if the person is asexual or like very low sex drive, then the, the fact is that they still might be aroused and they might still want
Yeah.
sex, right? So the thing is, again, then do you know what are the cues? Are you able to,
Mm.
as a partner, as a lover, are you able to press the right cues, create the right ambience, the right environment,
Mm-mm.
to allow your partner to be aroused?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I've heard of I
heard of
heard of how do I put this? Like guys, it's easier to how do you put this? Fire up the whole thing. But for girls, it's a lot different because there are a lot of factors lah. Whether they slept well or not, whether they ate well, how was the environment like, the music,
mm,
how they are. There's a lot of what's
mm.
that word? The thing before sex. Yeah, I
Like what
forgot what's.
foreplay is it?
Yeah, correct. Foreplay. Yeah, you need
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Some
yeah,
people,
yeah,
some girls cannot. Maybe some
yeah,
guys also. I don't know. Maybe some
yeah,
guys
yeah.
also need a
So
bit of foreplay.
yeah, so like you know what are the cues to do the foreplay,
Mm.
which can eventually lead to sex. Sometimes the foreplay happen early in the morning and you start planting cues already. You start creating the environment, and
Mm,
and and you must understand, if your partner has low sex drive,
mm,
partially it's because of the dynamics between two person. I'm talking about partially. I don't want to say fully, because sometimes your partner really have low sex drive, right? But
mm,
sometimes the partner have low sex drive because of who you are as a person, right?
mm,
So yeah, but if you are sensitive to a partner, well, okay, so I mean you, I don't mean like you per se, who I'm talking
mm,
about,
okay.
whoever is listening, so it's like,
Mm,
if you are sensitive to them, then you will know how to maneuver it.
mm,
Yeah, some might take a long time, right? Like many hours. In the morning you start sending like, "Hey, good morning, sweetie." Then after that you buy flowers, you create environment. When she come
mm,
back home or he come back home, you play the music, and things like this. So it's about building that up.
mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
Correct.
But does it require effort? It does. Does it take
Mm,
understanding of you and your partner? You will need to understand your partner. You need to understand yourself as well.
mm.
Yeah. So yes, yes.
The
So
foreplay.
the foreplay, the language between you and your partner. So, but back to your question again, right? If somebody is asexual or low sex drive, then if the person really is low sex drive, then by themselves, then
Mm,
that's another thing they need to handle, right? But if the person used to have sex drive but now become so low, then maybe it could be about the dynamics between these two individuals. So in our sessions, then we are facilitating the conversation that allow them to be able to rekindle that kind of passion.
mm.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Best to communicate with one another, lah. You have to. I mean, it's still the. It's like we find so
It's
many. We go talk about so many things. A lot of things still boils back down to communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing is, I mean, there's no module in school that deals in communication. So how I communicate with you, i- if it is if it has been like this for 10 years, it can't change suddenly. Like you
Okay.
understand, if my style has been like this and your style has been like this, and if for the past 10 years we don't even talk about intimacy,
Mm.
we will still not talk about intimacy in the next 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 years. What
Yeah,
makes you
10
want to
years already.
change?
Yeah, we won't change because we are very used to our default style of communication, and I assume I know, you assume you know, so the chances of us really having a new style of communication is actually low.
Mm,
Yeah, that
mm,
is why a lot of tensions build up, when things happens and people can't resolve them. That's the thing. Yeah,
mm,
so in the session it's really about facilitating that conversation that couldn't happen previously.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about couples more in the uh, earlier parts of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a bit more about maybe individuals instead. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I was wondering if you all get incels as clients. So incels are involuntary celibates. So I was wondering if you all have that. So I would think they might want to find out.
Wait, I need to understand that,
Google
that
it.
meaning properly first.
Incel
Involuntary. How
celibate.
do you spell in?
Involuntary. So you can put incels lah. Incel.
Oh
INCEL.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I guess they are struggling to find a partner, which usually are their guys, or maybe they're girls also, but usually it's guys.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, guys who are unable to find girlfriends,
Mm.
they might want do you have clients who are such demographics where they are struggling to find girlfriends and seeking help?
Um, we have inquiries
Hmm.
with regards to this. Just that, um how do I put it? They they tend not to. What do I mean is that when they inquire, they are looking for quick fixes.
Ah.
Yeah, and I mean quick fixes is not something that is, it's not something that we provide. I mean quick fixes. I mean if you need quick fixes, you can just online check for quick fixes, right? So
Mm,
most of the inquiries that we receive from them is really just very short, sweet. I mean short, sweet, one statement type, like I want to find a girlfriend. right? Or I have trouble finding a girlfriend. Like, yeah, okay, but that's all. Yeah, they were not really serious or looking for a session with us, kind of thing.
How do I find
Yeah,
GF?
yeah. I mean, okay. Whoever that's listening this, right? I mean, like, if you can't find, I mean,
Mm,
or you identify yourself as the incel, right? Then
mm-hmm,
unless there's something that unless fundamentally something changed within you, or you do something really differently,
mm,
then chances of you being able to find is still low. I mean, if you get what I mean. As in, I'm not trying to say that you will not find a partner, but I'm saying that if I mean it backs to that. There's this phrase, right? If you keep doing the same thing again and expecting a different result, then that's quite insane,
sanity.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's quite insane. So the thing is, are you willing to do something that is different? Are you willing to understand yourself more, such that you know that you are able to do something differently, such that you have a different outcome? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and if that is what you're willing, then yes, that's something that we can work with. But if you're looking
Okay.
for quick fixes, then no lah. To me again, I don't believe in quick fixes. Yeah.
Mm. So you mean, so these guys, they will just email you guys and say very short phrases to ask. Oh, I have been struggling to find a girlfriend. How do I find girlfriend? That's all. Is it
Yeah,
something like
that's
that?
all. Yeah, that's all. And we reply to the inquiries, right? So when we reply them, but we know that the conversation won't continue lah. Yeah.
How do you know? What do you mean?
As in we reply them and then they never reply us.
Oh, there's no follow up.
Yeah, there's no
Okay.
follow up. I mean, because I want to find a girlfriend, but then the thing, then we ask them,
Mm.
how long have you been struggling with, etc., etc. Then there's no reply.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe they are not that serious. I don't know. Or they're just trolling or
I
something.
mean,
I mean, we never know, right? I think if you are quite serious, you would. I mean, at least give more details or at least continue the email trail. I don't know. That's what I
yeah.
think.
But I also think because of the availability of resources online, between asking us and finding these resources online, is finding these resources online are easier, right? I mean, okay, what do I mean by resources? I mean, if you are incel, right, and then you might just go through various dating apps, and just try there,
Mm,
right? So between trying swiping on those apps, for example Tinder, or some other apps lah, or where you click
mm,
yes or no, then to actually coming to us to really work through it, it's easier to on all these available platforms and resources out there, right?
mm-hmm,
Like, it's so much easier. So yeah, so normally the thing is, people normally come to us when they really, really have something they want to work on.
mm.
Yeah, or they
Okay.
feel propelled or motivated to work on it.
Mm,
Yeah. So I
okay.
mean, maybe they don't see that not finding a partner is that important for them to have a conversation with us.
Mm, not serious enough. Okay.
Yeah, because there are so many other resources available out there.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Understand.
able to fulfill their desires temporarily.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, then let's talk about back to relationship. In terms of mistakes that you guys see in terms of when you're going through the sessions with your clients. So what are the common mistakes that you see or you have observed uh, when it comes to the relationships? For maybe for the guy and the female as well.
Mm.
So I will
Mm.
presume it's quite different. I don't know, maybe or maybe both also have common issues.
Mm, common issues
Yeah,
of
maybe
this of this
specific in guys or
yeah.
females or maybe both as well.
um Common mistakes. Uh, just let me think about it.
Okay.
I wouldn't say there's anything specifically.
Mm,
Um, uh, more like not common mistake, but more like um when you mean mistake,
Assumptions.
when you mean mistake, do you mean like things that they have done or what as a mistake that result in their relationship to be at that point? Is that what you mean? I just don't understand what you mean by mistake first.
Okay, maybe let's phrase it this way.
Mm.
Common causes of relationships breaking down.
Mm.
I don't know if that narrows it down.
Okay. So
Like like the things they are doing or not doing that causes the relationship to break apart.
mm, let's see. One thing I think one of the things that come to my mind is thinking that remaining quiet or not dealing with it can help the relationship. If you get, I mean, to put it simply, like, I mean, if there are
Mm,
issues, but then if one party or both party are not dealing with that, or they are not looking at it clearly, they just like sweep it under the carpet,
mm,
these things actually will grow bigger and it will come back to haunt them.
mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is this is in fact one of the key things that makes that actually resulted in couple coming to us. Yeah.
Mm. So you mean, let's say a couple they
Yeah.
fight, then after a few months they don't talk about it. Maybe they move on. They still okay with the
Mm.
relationship, and again they fight again, and the cycle repeats. Then yeah, they come to you guys. Oh, we've been fighting for this for maybe years already, and now we are here. Is it something like that?
Yes, it's something like this. So it's like similar. Like I mean, we can talk about extreme case like cheating,
Mm,
right? I mean, like cheating. Like when I mean extreme is because it is really painful.
mm,
Like so painful between the couple lah.
yeah.
So, but then when you actually work with them, when you actually try to understand their situation, then you begin to see that it all can spark off because many years ago
Mm,
something happened and that something was not resolved, and then I know I feel a bit more distant from you, and then even though we might have forgotten it, but then we got more and more distant, and then one day either you or me cheated, and but then maybe I never tell you, then maybe many more years later, you find out or something like that, and then so I don't but when you look back at things, there's always something that actually spark off this whole thing, and by the
mm,
time you realize that it's already very jialat already, the situation, right? The cheating
mm,
has already happened. I'm already so upset with you, you're already so upset with me. But then we still want to be together, right? So then we need to really look back, not look back, but more like, work through the things that has caused us to be like this. Yeah.
mm,
So when we don't deal with things, when I mean deal, I don't mean like, you know like I say sorry or you say sorry. I mean that's not dealing, right? Dealing means really understanding why this thing happened. How can we avoid such thing from happening again, and
mm,
then also knowing that both of us play a part in it. You know, and
mm.
then to make sure that such thing don't happen again, lah. It's
Okay.
yeah, and such that you do not carry over that unhappy incident, you know, unknowingly, because it will become something very big. Yeah.
Mm,
That's one of the
okay.
mistakes lah. I mean, a lot. Not only, I mean, not only in all romantic relationship, right? Even in all friendships, we also have
Mm,
things sometimes we don't say, right? Then it will explode like right in our face. Or even at home, when if between me and my siblings or my cousins or even my mom or my parents, a lot of things we tend not to express up.
mm,
Yeah,
mm, mm.
we just bottle it down, and all this kind of thing when it explodes, it hits us in the face lah.
Mm,
Yeah, but,
okay.
but because we are family, so we are still family, right? Like
Tahan.
we can say tahan. At the end of the day, I
Yeah.
still know that you are my mom, for example. I know that you are my brother. Just that of
Mm,
course, the relationship might have tension, but I still know you're my brother or something like that, right? But
mm,
yeah, but the friends, if the friend is not really an important thing, not really an important friend to you, then if the thing explodes, you might feel hurt, but you will not feel hurt forever, right? So, but
Mm.
when it comes to like romantic relationship, then if that person is really important to you, and then if when the cheating happened, for example, then it's really painful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. I would think sometimes it's because of the love that people might be a bit blinded. They might be a bit more, how do you put this? They kind of dismiss it. Yeah, because maybe it's not that important.
Mm,
But because you love each other while you're in a relationship, so
mm.
you just put it one side. By even because of not dealing with it, it just piles up lah. And one day just
Yeah, and that really is the tricky part here because like maybe in a short term temporarily you know love for you know love right, whatever love that you might have with your partner, you might be able to like not not look at it, you may be able to just close one eye,
mm,
but then it's still there.
mm,
It's still
yep,
there. It's like a ticking time bomb,
mm,
and you're just sweeping it under the carpet.
yep,
Yeah, so just be careful because it might explode one day. If it doesn't, even if it doesn't, it's still there, which means
mm,
that at some level, emotionally or psychologically, you're still suppressing it
mm,
because it's still
mm,
there. And when
yep,
you're suppressing it, it still is a ticking time bomb.
mm,
Yeah, so if I were to press some of your buttons, that thing will explode.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
so but then can you imagine if it's only one thing that you're suppressing, maybe it's still okay, right? But
yep,
imagine if there are many things that you're suppressing. You know how tired you can be, right?
yeah,
And it's
mm,
super tired, and that's why sometimes when two couple come together, they just explode.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and
Mm,
you say, and you want to bring your partner on a holiday to decompress, but then in the holiday you explode.
angry all the time.
Yeah, because I press your button, you explode. You press my button, I already explode. And all these things are there because we all put it there. I put it, you put in my space, I put in your space, and we suppress, suppress, suppress. And then
Mm,
in the right moment, with the right factors, it will freaking explode.
mm,
Yeah.
okay.
And the thing, and another interesting thing is when it explodes, it's still there.
They don't deal with it still.
Yeah, you don't deal
Yeah.
with it, it is still there. It will just keep exploding every time your partner press the same button.
Mm.
Yeah, so can you imagine, after years of being in a relationship, how easily you can explode when you're with your partner?
And then yeah, they just pre-call for yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, so sometimes the explosion got so much and it's so unbearable, and but they still want to move forward in a relationship. By the time they want to move forward and they decide to come to us, and that's when we work with them lah. But the thing is,
Mm.
imagine if we could work with them earlier.
Mm.
Yeah, imagine
Mm.
if those ticking time bomb can be handled earlier. Like how much more years of pleasant, meaningful, forwarding relationships they can have, right?
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't ignore the problem then.
Don't ignore a problem, guys. It's freaking there. Okay, it's freaking there. You know it. You know it. You freaking hell know it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about maybe traumas that
Mm,
these couples might have. Or we can call it baggage that they
mm,
bring into their relationship. So do y'all discuss past traumas during these sessions?
uh,
Maybe not just uh, sexual needs or in all or any other aspects in their relationship. Do y'all
mm.
talk about their past traumas?
Um, um, let's just put it this way. It's a yes and no thing because when the space is created
Mm,
between the coach and the client, um, naturally the client will recall. I mean, they will talk about things, they will share, right? And then
yep.
through the correct questionings or the appropriate questionings from the coach, they will begin to have understand why they are like this at this point of time,
Mm,
and whether is it trauma or baggage. I mean, we can just call it like baggage for now, right? So whether is it when they're able to know how their previous baggages are affecting them right now, then they will be able to maneuver their relationship forward uh,
Mm-hmm.
in a more appropriate way that is empowering for them. So
Mm.
the coaching space that we provide for them is to facilitate conversations like this. Of course, it is down to the individual or the clients to express it. We are not
Mm.
going after the baggage is not the main objective.
Mm.
But if the clients talk about that and then they will have a better understanding of why they are right now in the situation, then that can empower them more. Yeah.
Mm.
But some clients, I mean, sometimes it's not about past baggage as well, right? So it depends on how much the client want to share.
Mm.
Yeah. But does past baggages affect how they are in a relationship? Definitely.
Mm.
Yeah. But how much they want to share is really up to them. And
I
of
see.
course, and of course, depends on the competency and the space that we create that allows them to want to share more.
Mm. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I would think it plays a huge part, and how it will explain specific behaviors of how they act inside a relationship.
Mm.
Sometimes it can be very defensive or very insecure about certain areas of their lives. Yeah,
Mm.
I would
Mm.
think trauma plays a part.
Mm.
Yeah, very interesting. So, eh,
And we are
another.
all shaped by our trauma. That's the thing.
Yeah, lor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So since we are all shaped by our trauma, then the conversation naturally will touch on some of it.
mm-mm,
Yeah. So it's it will touch on it, and just depend on how deep we go, how much we uncover, and
mm,
how willing the client is.
mm,
Yeah.
I
But
see.
sometimes it's not trauma based. Sometimes they come to us with different objective. Then we won't even talk about trauma and baggage, right? But so it depends on the nature of the situation. Not all situation will go down the path of conversation about baggages.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. Hmm. Let's talk about different, I guess we could say different subject. Loneliness.
Okay.
So, loneliness has been increasing quite a lot, especially in first world countries. Singapore also. Singapore is not a good exception with
Mm,
yeah loneliness, and I guess singlehood also it comes along with it. People who are there are more people who are single. So what do you see in the future in terms of in relation to this fact of rising loneliness? Yeah, how do you see it in relation to relationship and sex?
mm. I would say, okay, this is a question that is fun to talk about. It's interesting.
Mm,
Um, let's put it this way, lah. Yes, people might feel lonely, when it comes to finding a relationship and whatnot. Um, and as a result of this, other platforms will appear to allow because people will channel their loneliness, and because of that situation they are in, they will seek other ways that is able to fulfill that loneliness. If you get what I mean,
mm,
what I'm saying is like, for example, in the in the online interactive world, some people might find love there, even though it is gamified. Even I'm talking about like games and whatnot, right? Even though I do
mm,
not see you physically in person, but through our chats, online, I might feel love from there from you, and the other person might also feel love from there, and that I'm not that concerned about loneliness because it will find its way to be fulfilled.
okay.
Yeah. So
Mm,
and there will be all these kind of platforms and online things that people will be there to get that loneliness fulfilled, if you get what I mean. Like,
mm-hmm,
I mean, down the road, who knows, right? There can be a metaverse for dating. I mean, there already is. There people are already
mm,
trying out different things, and so in the future, like relationships can be in that form. Like I am in love with you, and you are in love with me, but we are in love, but in this world that we're in, which is the digital world,
mm-hmm,
and the and and that is perfectly fine as well.
Mm.
Yeah, and then there will be ways to fulfill our desires, right? I mean, there's like Bluetooth sex toys around.
Okay.
That where I press, then you can feel it on your side and things like this. And then who knows? Sometimes in the near future there'll be. I mean, you seen it, right? Like the whole body suit one that when I press here, then you can feel me pressing you, that kind of thing.
I've never seen it before.
I mean,
What's that?
this is like super advanced. I can't remember
Oh,
what the thing. It's like the goggle, the VR goggles that you wear, and
okay.
then you get to be in this virtual world with your partner and things like this. So
Mm,
yeah, so I believe loneliness will find its own platform to be fulfilled. Yeah, it,
mm,
it just might not be the mainstream way how people see relationship is, and more and more, and there'll be a significant number of people, or as a trend, that will find love in non-mainstream ways.
mm.
Yeah,
I
and
see. Hmm.
which are perfectly okay for them as well.
Okay. Do you
Mm.
see that happening to your clients right now?
Don't have, we don't have. So most of them who still come to us are already in a relationship.
Mm,
Yeah, so we have not have the chance to work with people who are seeking love and whatnot. They are still not the main bulk of our clients.
I
Yeah.
see.
But that's a
I,
good, but that's a good conversation. I mean, a good topic that you ask. I think it's really interesting, and I mean it's interesting because we would like to also play a part in that area. Like we talk
mm,
about like finding love through different forms and whatnot. I think that's an area that we are also interested to to head down in the near future.
mm.
Yeah.
I, I, I don't know, man. I wish things would get better, but
Mm.
I think this loneliness thing is not going to get better.
It
I
will not.
mean, because I've seen some like AI chatbots. They
Mm.
are some people who are lonely. They are using that as a way to fulfill their loneliness, and
Mm.
it's not even a human being. I don't know how I feel about that. It
Mm.
seems very dystopian. With
Mm.
ChatGPT, they can become a really good
Mm.
companion. So I'm
Mm.
not surprised if AI chatbot can be your virtual girlfriend and maybe fulfill your emotional needs to the point where you don't need a human partner, which I think is a bit scary.
Mm.
I don't know how I don't like that fact that that's
Mm.
probably gonna happen in the future. So,
Mm.
but I think it's going to because if you don't find if loneliness is increasing and not many things are being implemented to become better, maybe the metaverse will help a bit. But
Mm.
I think there are a lot of people who will fall into that AI chatbot partnership
Yeah.
lah.
I it's looking at the trend now. It's quite inevitable that like AI chatbots and robots or metaverse will definitely play a part to fulfill that loneliness in the future. I think it's definitely unavoidable. Um, but it also has got to do with. I mean, this is just my own thinking, right? But it also has got to do with how we are brought up, and how the environment or the society has trained us,
Mm,
or educate us, right? Like I mentioned, we are so educated at Singapore, or at least in the industrialized nation, we are so educated in the forms of like science and math, and we are so focused on that I mean, we're not even trained emotionally. We're not even
mm,
trained physically, right? We only have like sports and here and there. We're not even trained emotionally. We know what does it mean to express your emotion. What does it mean to cry, to be happy, to sad? What does it mean to flirt? Like none of
mm.
us are trained in that. So it's inevitable that as grown-ups, right? We can't have those kind of conversations that with our potential partner, or the person we like, right? We tend to fall back into a very logical side of things, like on the intellectual mind kind of thing, right? Like intellectual conversations, then sometimes your partner are not looking for that, right? So if
Mm.
they are more emotional based, then but we are so untrained emotionally, then how are we going to speak to them?
Yeah, I'm not sure how things are gonna change in the future because the AI chatbots are the safest way. You mean compare, let's say me going out to go and talk to girls, random strangers out in the public. That's the repercussions of that or rejection. It's so much more the uphill battle of that, the rejection,
Yes.
all of the feelings that comes along with it. It's just discouraging, very, very discouraging. As compared to AI
Yes.
chatbot, it's within your hands and you can just type. Oh, you get love from there.
Yes.
So the trade-offs are just not worth it, lah. Last time
Yeah.
in the past, you don't have a phone, you have to go out to actually talk
Yes.
to girls. You get rejected. Yeah, either you get rejected or you become lonely. You don't have your
Yes.
chatbots. But now it's, yeah, a lot more difficult. You either
Yeah.
have your dating apps or your chatbots. So
Yeah.
I don't
Eh,
see things getting better. I wish I was wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but
yeah.
things are.
I the trajectory we are heading is that, unfortunately. And
Mm,
like we are like social media and whatnot, right? Is now we no longer like we no longer like walk out to the person we like and speak to them, right? Like it's very
mm,
that I mean, not a lot of people do that anymore, and they all use like apps, to communicate and whatnot. So it's just how the future is, lah. And people use dating app as a way to find love and etc. etc. So conveniences
mm,
and being behind the phone or the keyboard is the way things will advance, lah, unfortunately, unless we put all those things aside and really go back to being able to communicate with someone else
mm.
in person. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about. I don't know. I think this you have mentioned before in terms of the advice, relationship advice.
Mm.
Something that an advice that is a bit more universal, everyone can use. So you've mentioned just now it was the, if I had to summarize it, it's about not sweeping your problems on the carpet, actually dealing with it as soon as possible before it bottles out into a big issue. So apart from that, do you have an advice that you think every couple would benefit from?
Mm, s- so any advice so that they can, I just want to understand that, so that they can do what?
Can benefit? Mm, wow. eh, Strengthen, I guess, strengthen the
Strengthen.
relationship,
Yeah.
or maybe facilitate more understanding in the relationship.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, like a
mm,
universal, everyone can take kind of advice.
there are, but they have to adapt it to their own ways, lah. I mean,
Okay.
one is still safety, being able to create a
Mm,
safe space between you and your partner so that you can communicate about things. Then once
mm,
the safe space, so basically it means that you need to know what is safe for your partner, and your
okay.
partner need to know what is safe for you. And it's very easily to venture into the unsafe space. It's very easily. I mean, it's easy to not be safe, and once it's not safe, you can't really talk about things really. So you got to be safe first. And if you or your partner tend to react or get triggered very easily, that safe
Mm,
space can be easily broken. Yeah.
mm,
So then the thing is, once create safe space, right? Then the thing is how to create a safe space. Like you need to know the factors, right? You can't be the one that get triggered so fast and then you flare up. And once you flare up, then the safety is not there, or you cry, for example. Then it's no longer, it will just violate some of the safe space concept, right? So
mm-hmm,
safety. Then after that, you communicate. Communicate
mm,
basically means understanding your partner understands you, and find a language that both of y'all can understand. I mean, it's
mm,
okay. Wait, just to guys, right? I mean, when I say communicate, sometimes guys can say, "Yeah, I communicate a lot, right? I say this, I mean this, right?" But but sometimes your partner might not mean that.
mm,
So guys, I mean, I am a guy, so I know sometimes how to communicate. I already say this, but like, what you don't understand? I already say I want this,
mm,
but you must understand, to your partner, it might not mean that. When they say they want this, they might also mean they also want a lot of other things, or they also want, or they also do not want a lot of other things. So when I mean communicate is, are you able to understand what the other person is saying? It's
mm-hmm.
not purely black and white. I mean, sometimes we
Yeah.
are very, for us, the logical mind, sometimes it's very black and white, but it's not, unfortunately. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I mean communicate is being able to listen everything of
Mm,
what your partner is saying and not saying. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So safety
Okay.
first, then communicate. After you communicate, then because basically got to respect the boundaries.
Mm,
Yeah. Consent and boundary is another thing that is really important.
okay.
Yeah.
Mm. the communication part,
Mm.
the hidden meanings as well, when it comes along with it.
I maybe maybe there should be some workshops or interactive sessions on what it means to communicate. Maybe
How would
that
you make one?
if I were to
Maybe
do
the
it, if I were to do it, it'll be more facilitated occasion between two couples. I mean, between two individuals to identify what is their form of what is the language of communication. When I mean language, I don't mean like physical touch. I don't mean like quality time. No, no, no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
mm,
what is the common language you have. So, like for example, when I'm talking to you now, I'm talking English is the language, right?
yep.
Yeah. So we need to find that English that is between that two individual. What is that English? Like what do we communicate through memes, do we communicate through emoji, do we communicate through food or what? I do not know. They have to find their own way of communication and they need to
Mm,
understand that. Yeah,
okay.
that
Okay.
yeah, but if I have to do that, then it will be a session for them to uncover that lah.
Mm,
Yeah,
I think I understand. But it's
yeah.
similar to love language, lah, I would say.
Yeah, it has
It's a bit,
elements. It
yeah,
has
yeah.
elements of love language inside. Yeah,
Okay. Mm,
yeah,
okay. Okay, let's talk about something more lighthearted. We
sure.
talked about a bit depressing stuff about
Okay.
AI chatbots.
Yeah.
So to balance things out, what aspects of life gives you hope about the future?
As in for the company or myself?
Both. How do you what is the first thing that came to your mind when I said that? It can be your life lah or your company. Or maybe
Uh,
both.
um, from my company side,
Mm,
at least for the work I'm involved in, I think what gives me hope is that um, people people who are in a relationship or long-term relationship, at least in this society that we're in, they're always looking forward to improve on it lah. Whether they come to us or they don't come to us, I think deep down we all know that we seek for the relationship to be better and better. Yeah, so knowing this, I mean, it then give me hope to know that yeah, that is something that we can play a part in. Yeah,
mm,
and also because we at least personally lah, I know that or at least I perceive that when it comes to the area of relationship, we are all untrained from since young, right? We get our first relationship, we fumble here and there, and then maybe if we get into another one, then we fumble again, right? So there's a lot of trial and error.
mm,
So yeah, so because of this process and also knowing that people want to have better relationship, we know that we are able to be there to support them on it.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think for me, so the next one is for my life, is it or something like that?
Yeah. Personal one.
Mm, personal one is more generic, meaning
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned earlier on in the conversation where I shared that after my graduation I went to do like personal development work and whatnot, and I spent a good
Mm.
amount of years there.
Yep.
I, yeah, so I was training in this place in this school called Leave Your Mark, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
where I met my teachers and whatnot. So they are really nice people. And but what got me stay there for so long was that I I do not know. There's so much about myself that I didn't know. That's why I stay there. I hang around there so long, and therefore I keep
Mm-hmm.
training myself, right? And 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 this gives me hope for the future because I know that um I know that how do I put it? I know that there's a lot more potential um in myself, including everybody here that's listening.
Mm.
That if we want to have a different outcome in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
we are able to we are able to get there
Okay.
because when we dig deep within ourselves, when we work on ourselves and things like this, we are able to maneuver uh, the situation properly. We're able to direct the situation properly such that we can have the outcome we want.
Mm.
Yeah. So my involvement with that school back then gives me hope that we can determine, or not determine, we can influence our outcome of our future um, situation, and that empowers me to feel that. Yeah,
Mm,
it's a
okay.
bit abstract. Do, is it too abstract for you?
No, the way I see it, this
Yeah,
is how you you did not realize that you have aptitudes on fields that you didn't know you were interested in, and you discovered it,
yeah.
and discovering that your hidden talents or pursuits, yeah,
Interest.
different
Yeah,
pursuits or interests that you didn't intend on going, in the
yeah,
end was central, a more instrumental part of your life right now.
yeah. Correct. Yeah.
So that gives you hope that you might be able to find out even more pursuits and fulfillments uh outside of your current role as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah. Glad that you understood it this way. Yeah, which also means that I'm also encouraged when other people are exploring stuff.
mm,
Yeah, which means that
mm,
they too can find something that if they are really interested and willing to have a different outcome or different trajectory, then they are able to handle that as well. Yeah.
interesting.
Provided the thing is provided they dig deep. I'm not talking about quick fixes, okay, guys?
Oh,
Not quick fixes. If quick fixes can work, everybody will have the life they want already because the quick fixes are all out there. Okay.
mm,
So listen like really clearly. Quick fixes
don't work.
doesn't really work.
Okay,
Okay? Don't get scammed into buying those books.
okay, okay, guys, don't opt into quick fixes. Okay, last question. Do you believe in ghosts?
In ghosts?
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is so interesting question.
Yeah,
Wait,
it's just
is it related to this topic first? No,
no, it's just for fun. So I'm just curious how other people they have any experiences with it or not.
I see, I
So
see. First of all, to answer your question, yes, I believe.
okay, have
Yeah.
you have any
Um.
experiences?
But just let me share
Mm,
my understanding of ghosts, right? Okay. I mean, I never seen.
okay.
I mean, there are people who have might seen it, right?
Mm,
I have friends who told me they can see. So, but
mm,
that's a different story.
okay.
Um, but my understanding of how I see it is that they are just like another entity that they are just the entities that are around us.
Mm,
Um, I mean, if you go to the park, if you go to a nature reserve, then the trees, the soil, the water, the clouds, the skies, they are all entities that are there. I mean, when I mean entities, I
mm.
mean I
Connected somehow lah. We all.
we're all connected, and I see
Mm,
them as we are all just here, on Earth, having a certain purpose and meaning and doing certain things, right? So likewise, the trees, the animals, to me, they're all just various entities. So
mm,
then, to me, then the concept of ghost is something that for me I can't see, but it's there.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but it's interesting because which also means that which also means that I I how do I put it? It also means that I acknowledge their presence, if you get what I mean.
Mm,
Which also means that if I go to a place of spirituality, if I go to a space of like temple or what, right? Or like cemetery, for example, then to me it's also being sensitive and also being mindful of how I handle myself there, if you get what I mean. So because of that understanding or that of how I see it lah, so I
mm,
my interaction is quite different from previously where I last time I used to think that no, I don't really care or it's not there and whatnot. But once I begin to like accept it as like we are all just entities here, then yes, the whole thing changed already.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But because I know
Interesting.
our friends who can see it, so then I know it's there. lah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But what about you? Like, what? I'm curious.
I've never experienced it before. So I mean maybe I only have something that I wasn't explained,
Mm,
unexplained.
mm,
Like my feet were like very tingly for some reason.
mm,
Like a lot of bugs, like biting me that kind.
mm,
Like a whole bunch of them. But when I try to reach out my legs, there's like nothing there. So
mm,
it's unexplained. I don't know if it's a ghost lah. Like
mm.
so yeah. Uh, be careful what I wish for lah. Maybe I really will see one in the future.
Uh, maybe when you are ready, then you will see it.
Yeah.
I always when you're not ready, you won't see it lah.
It's a, maybe. Okay.
Maybe yeah maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Enough ghostly questions. So I think that's all the questions I have today. Eugene, co-founder of Academy of Relationship and Sex. Thank you for coming. We discussed about how you got into this career, how it was because of a unintentional way of being inside this industry, which now gives you a very fulfilling uh, job that you didn't expect to go in. And we talked about how communication, safe spaces are so important that many Singaporeans are lacking in, which is why we have a company such as yourself to fulfill that we don't have in our education system. And we also talk about loneliness and the hope about the future. So, Eugene, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and wish you all the best in your company. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here today. Really nice to have a
Mm.
conversation with you about that, and I hope what we shared, some are things that people can have takeaways as a result of this. So thank you very much.
So, okay, how do people actually find you are on Instagram? We have your website, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, we'll put that in the description. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whichever social media that you guys have, and the website as well. So, anything else you want to shout out, or you have your
mm,
personal social media you want to shout out also?
oh no, it's okay about my personal social media, but yes, hope you guys had fun listening this.
Okay, yeah, I think that's all. Thanks, Eugene. So stop recording.